My wife humiliated me at dinner, but when I stopped chasing and drew a hard line, she faced the mirror, fought for us, and rebuilt desire from scratch. Straight. By day 4, I had figured out her little game, and my response wasn't what she expected. Let me tell you exactly what happened and how I handled a woman who thought mind games would make our marriage more exciting. We had been married for 3 years. Not perfect, but solid. We talked about everything, shared our days, and never went to bed angry. She knew where I was. I knew where she was. Simple, honest, and it worked for us. Until last Monday morning when everything changed without warning. I woke up to her getting dressed quietly in the corner. Usually she would kiss me good morning or at least say something. Instead, she just looked at me and said good morning in this flat, distant tone I had never heard before. No kiss, no smile, nothing, just 2 words and back to whatever she was doing. I thought maybe she was having a bad morning, so I tried to lighten the mood. I asked if she wanted me to make coffee, if she had slept well, normal couple stuff. She just shrugged and said she was fine. Fine. That word every man learns to fear because it never actually means fine. The weird part was how she carried herself. Different posture, different energy, like she was performing some role I wasn't aware of. She grabbed her purse and keys, then paused at the door like she wanted to say something important. Instead, she just said, "Have a good day," and left. I texted her around lunch asking how her day was going. Usually she responds within an hour, sometimes sooner. This time, nothing for 4 hours. When she finally replied, it was just busy day. No details, no emoji, no follow-up questions about my day. Just those 2 words. After work, I got home expecting her to be there. The house was empty. I called her phone, and it went straight to voicemail. I waited an hour, then 2 hours. Finally, around 8 at night, she walked through the door like nothing had happened. "Where were you?" I asked. A reasonable question from a husband whose wife disappeared without a word. "Just out," she said, hanging up her jacket. "Grabbing dinner with some friends." "Which friends? You didn't mention any plans this morning." She looked at me like I was being unreasonable. "I don't have to report my every move to you. I'm allowed to be spontaneous." Spontaneous. My wife, who planned our grocery lists a week in advance and scheduled her workouts in her phone calendar, was suddenly spontaneous. "Right. I'm not asking for a report," I said calmly. "I'm asking because I was worried when you didn't come home or respond to texts." I responded 4 hours later with 2 words. She shrugged again. That same dismissive gesture from the morning. I was busy. Can't check my phone every 5 minutes. The conversation felt like I was talking to a stranger wearing my wife's face. Same person, completely different attitude. She used to care if I worried about her. She used to understand that communication isn't about control, it's about respect. That night, she went to bed without our usual routine. No talking about our days, no planning tomorrow, no physical contact. She just brushed her teeth, got into bed and turned away from me. When I tried to put my arm around her, she shifted away and mumbled something about being tired. I lay there staring at the ceiling, trying to figure out what I had done wrong. Had I missed an anniversary, said something that upset her, forgotten some important conversation? I ran through the past week in my head and came up empty. The next morning was more of the same distant greeting, vague responses, and then she disappeared again after work. This time, she came home even later, around 10 at night. When I asked where she had been, she said she had gone to get her nails done and then stopped by her sister's house. "Your sister's out of town this week," I said. "She posted pictures from her vacation yesterday." For just a second, she looked caught. Then she recovered and said, "I meant my friend. I always call her sister, you know that." I didn't know that because it wasn't true, but I let it slide because I was still trying to give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe work was stressing her out. Maybe she needed some space. Maybe this was just a phase that would pass. By the 3rd day, I realized this wasn't a phase. This was intentional. She was acting like a completely different person. And every time I tried to address it, she made me feel like I was being controlling or paranoid. The woman I married never would have stayed out until 10 without telling me where she was going. She never would have lied about where she had been, and she sure as hell never would have made me feel crazy for caring about her safety. Something was very wrong, and I was done pretending everything was normal. Tomorrow, I decided, we were going to have a real conversation about what was happening to our marriage. I had no idea that by tomorrow, I would have figured out exactly what game she was playing, and she would learn that I don't play games with people I'm supposed to trust. Day 4 started differently. I woke up to her practically glued to my side, running her fingers through my hair and whispering good morning like we were on our honeymoon. a complete opposite of the cold, distant woman from the past 3 days. She made breakfast, asked about my meetings, and even packed my lunch with a little note inside. I should have been relieved, but instead, I felt more confused than ever. This wasn't normal behavior either. It was too much, too, like she was overcompensating for something. The woman who had been treating me like a stranger for 3 days was suddenly acting like the most devoted wife in history. "You seem happy today," I said, watching her move around the kitchen with exaggerated enthusiasm. "Can a wife be happy to see her husband?" she replied, giving me a kiss that lasted longer than necessary. The whole morning felt like a performance. Every gesture was too big, every word too sweet. She was trying so hard to be affectionate that it felt fake, but I played along, hoping maybe we were getting back to normal. Then lunchtime came. I texted her a simple "how's your day going?" and got nothing back. Not for 1 hour, not for 2 hours, not for 3 hours. The same woman who had been all over me that morning was suddenly unreachable again. When I got home, she was sitting on the couch scrolling through her phone, completely absorbed in whatever was on the screen. I said hello, and she barely looked up. Just a quick hey and back to her phone. "Everything okay?" I asked, sitting down next to her. "Yeah, why? You haven't responded to my text from earlier." She finally looked up, but with annoyance instead of apology. "I've been busy. I can't be on my phone all day. This morning, you were making me lunch and leaving notes. Now you can't even look at me when I walk in the door. What changed?" "Nothing changed. You're being dramatic." Dramatic. For expecting basic consistency from my wife. For noticing that she was hot and cold like a broken faucet. For wanting to understand why the woman who woke up clingy became completely indifferent by afternoon. She went back to her phone, and I sat there watching her scroll through social media for 20 minutes straight. Every now and then she would smile at something on the screen, sometimes even laugh quietly. But when I tried to start a conversation, she gave me one-word answers without looking up. Around 8, she suddenly put her phone down and transformed again. Started flirting with me like nothing had happened, sitting closer, touching my arm when she talked, asking if I wanted to watch a movie together. The same woman who had ignored me for hours was now trying to be seductive. "What's with the mood swings?" I asked directly. "What mood swings?" "I'm just relaxing after work. You've been 3 different people today. Clingy this morning, cold this afternoon, and now you're trying to seduce me." She laughed like I was being ridiculous. "You're overthinking everything. Can't a woman have different moods?" "Different moods? Sure. But this wasn't moods. This was calculated. Everything felt timed, like she was following some kind of schedule, be overly affectionate in the morning, ignore him during the day, turn on the charm at night. It was too systematic to be natural. During the movie, she kept checking her phone every few minutes, lighting up the screen and scrolling through something. When I asked who she was texting, she said it was just social media, but she was typing, not just scrolling, and she was smiling at whatever responses she was getting. "Who are you talking to?" I asked again. "Just chatting with some friends." "Which friends?" "Does it matter?" "God, you're being so possessive lately." Possessive. For asking who my wife was texting while we were supposed to be spending time together. For noticing that her behavior had completely changed over the past few days. For expecting basic honesty about where she was and who she was talking to. The next morning brought another dramatic shift. She was back to being distant and mysterious. When I asked about her plans for the day, she said she might go out later but wasn't sure where. When I asked if she wanted to grab dinner together, she said she already had plans but wouldn't say with whom. "Are you seeing someone else?" I asked directly. She looked genuinely shocked. "What? No. Why would you even think that?" "Because you're acting like a completely different person. You're secretive. You disappear without explanation. You won't tell me who you're talking to or where you're going. I'm not being secretive. I'm just not reporting every detail of my life to you anymore." "Since when?" "We've always shared our days with each other. Maybe I want some independence. Maybe I don't want to feel like I need permission to live my life." Independence. From her husband of 3 years who had never tried to control her movements or monitor her activities. From the man who had always encouraged her friendships and supported her hobbies. Suddenly she needed independence from basic communication and consideration. That afternoon, she posted a picture on social media. She was at some restaurant I didn't recognize, looking happy and relaxed. The caption said, "Enjoying some me time," with a winking emoji. She had time to post on social media but couldn't respond to my text asking if she needed anything from the store. When she got home that night, I smelled cologne on her clothes, not mine, something heavier, more expensive. When I mentioned it, she said she had been around a lot of people and picked up different scents. Plausible, but combined with everything else, suspicious. "We need to talk," I said seriously. "About what?" "About whatever game you're playing. About why you're acting like being married to me is some kind of prison you need to escape from." She sat down with a sigh like I was exhausting her. "There's no game. Maybe you're just insecure about me having my own life." Insecure. The final insult. For expecting honesty from my wife. For wanting consistency in our relationship. For noticing that the woman I married had disappeared and been replaced by someone playing psychological games. I realized then that this wasn't going to get better by itself. She wasn't going through a phase or dealing with stress. She was deliberately behaving this way. And every time I addressed it, she turned it around to make me the problem. Tomorrow, I decided, I was going to figure out exactly what was behind this sudden personality change, because the woman I married didn't play mind games, and I wasn't about to start accepting them now. The games escalated on day 5. She woke up acting normal, had coffee with me, even talked about weekend plans. Then around noon, she texted me that she couldn't make our dinner reservation that night. Something had come up last minute. When I asked what, she said it was complicated, and she would explain later. She never explained later. Instead, she came home around midnight smelling like alcohol and someone else's cologne again. When I asked where she had been, she said she went out with co-workers for drinks. When I asked which co-workers, she rattled off some names I had never heard before. In 3 years of marriage, she had mentioned maybe 5 people from her office by name. Now suddenly she was close friends with people I didn't know existed. "Since when do you go out drinking with co-workers until midnight?" I asked. "Since I decided to actually participate in office social events instead of rushing home every night." "You hate office social events. You've always said they're fake and boring." "People change. Maybe I'm trying to be more social." "People change, but not overnight. Not from someone who preferred quiet evenings at home to someone who stayed out until midnight with mysterious co-workers. The woman I married valued our time together. She would have invited me to join or at least given me real details about her plans. The next day, she didn't respond to my text at all. Complete radio silence from 9 in the morning until she walked through the door at 11 at night. When I called her office, they said she had left at 5:30 like usual. So where had she been for 5.5 hours? "I went shopping and then grabbed dinner," she said when I confronted her. "I ran into an old friend and we caught up." "Which friend?" "You don't know him." She spent 5 hours with a man I had never met or heard about. A man she called an old friend, but had never mentioned in 3 years of marriage. A man she just happened to run into while shopping and spent the entire evening with. "What's his name?" I asked. "Why does it matter? You don't know him anyway." "It matters because my wife spent 5 hours with another man and won't even tell me his name. His name is David, and he's just a friend from college. We were catching up on old times." David from college. In 3 years, she had never mentioned a David from college. I knew all her college friends, had met most of them at our wedding or various gatherings. David had never come up once, but now he was important enough to spend 5 hours with instead of coming home to her husband. "Funny how you've never mentioned David before," I said. "I don't tell you about every person I've ever known. That would be exhausting. You tell me about people who matter enough to spend entire evenings with." She rolled her eyes like I was being unreasonable. "You're being paranoid again." Paranoid. Her new favorite word for any time I questioned her behavior. Asking where my wife spent 5 hours was paranoid. Wanting to know who she was with was paranoid. Expecting basic communication was paranoid. The pattern continued the next day. She left for work acting normal, then disappeared again after 5. This time she came home at 10 with shopping bags from stores we couldn't afford. When I asked how much she had spent, she said it was her money and she could spend it however she wanted. "We share finances," I reminded her. "We always discuss big purchases. These aren't big purchases, just some clothes and makeup." I looked in the bags when she went to shower. $300 worth of designer clothes and cosmetics. Things she had never bought before. Brands she had never shown interest in. And all of it was stuff designed to get attention. Low-cut tops, tight dresses, expensive perfume. "Who are you dressing up for?" I asked when she came out of the bathroom. "Myself." "Is that allowed?" "You've never cared about designer clothes before. Maybe I'm tired of looking boring. Maybe I want to feel attractive. You've always been attractive, and you've never been boring. To you, maybe. But I want to feel attractive to everyone." To everyone. Not just to her husband, to everyone. She wanted to feel attractive to other men. And she was spending our money to make it happen. The woman I married cared about looking good for me. Now she was more concerned with how strangers saw her. That weekend, she made plans without consulting me. Said she was going out with friends and wouldn't be back until late. When I asked if I could come along, she said it was girls only. When I asked which friends, she gave me vague answers about people from work and college. She left the house looking like she was going to a nightclub, not hanging out with girlfriends. Tight dress, full makeup, expensive perfume. She looked incredible, but not for me, for whoever she was really going to see. She came home at 2 a.m, drunk and giggly. When I asked how her night was, she said it was amazing and that she had so much fun. She talked about dancing and laughing and feeling free. She never mentioned any specific friends or what they actually did together. You seem different when you go out, I observed. Different how? Happier, more alive, like you're escaping something. Maybe I am escaping. What, this? She gestured around our house, our life together. The routine, the predictability, the same conversations every day. She was escaping our marriage. Our life together had become something she needed a break from. The home we had built, the routine we had established, the relationship we had nurtured for 3 years. All of it was now a prison she needed to escape from, with mysterious friends and late-night adventures. If you're unhappy, we should talk about it, I said. I'm not unhappy. I'm just exploring who I am outside of being a wife. Outside of you a wife. Like being married to me was limiting her somehow. Like our relationship was holding her back from becoming her true self. The woman I married had never felt restricted by our partnership. She had felt supported and loved, and free to be exactly who she was. Are you testing me? I asked directly. She looked surprised by the question. Testing you how? All of this, the mysterious plans, the staying out late, the new clothes, the attitude changes. Are you trying to see how much I'll tolerate? Why would I test you? I don't know, but this isn't normal behavior for you. Everything feels calculated, like you're following some kind of script. She laughed, but it sounded forced. You think I'm following a script? That's ridiculous. Then explain the behavior. Explain why my wife of 3 years suddenly needs to escape our marriage and spend all her time with people I've never met. Maybe you don't know me as well as you think you do. Maybe I didn't. But I knew the woman I married, and this wasn't her. The woman I married didn't play games or keep secrets or make her husband feel like a stranger in his own marriage. Whatever was happening here, it was about to reach a breaking point. And tomorrow, I was going to get some real answers. Day 7 was when everything came to a head. She spent extra time getting ready that morning, trying on different outfits and doing her makeup twice. When I asked where she was going, she said she had errands to run and might meet up with friends later. Same vague answer she had been giving me all week. But this time, I paid attention to the details. She wore her best dress, the one she usually saved for special occasions. Her makeup was perfect, like she was going somewhere important. She sprayed on the expensive perfume she had bought earlier that week. This wasn't someone running errands. This was someone getting ready for a date. You look nice, I said, testing her reaction. Thank you, she replied, checking herself in the mirror one more time. Special occasion? Just felt like looking good today. She grabbed her purse and keys, then paused at the door like she always did now. This dramatic pause had become part of her routine, like she was waiting for me to beg her to stay or ask more questions. When I didn't react, she just said goodbye and left. An hour later, she posted a picture on Instagram. She was at some upscale restaurant downtown, sitting at a table with 2 wine glasses. The caption read, "Feeling mysterious today," with a winking emoji. 2 wine glasses meant she wasn't alone, but she had cropped whoever was sitting across from her out of the photo. I called her phone. It went straight to voicemail. I texted asking who she was having lunch with. No response. I waited 2 hours and tried again. Still nothing. Around 5, she posted another picture. This time she was at a park I recognized, but not alone. The photo showed her hand holding someone else's hand, but again, the person was cropped out, just 2 hands intertwined with the caption, "Sometimes you need to live a little." My wife was posting pictures of herself holding hands with someone else. Not only was she cheating, but she was documenting it on social media for everyone to see. Everyone except me, apparently, since she couldn't be bothered to respond to my calls or texts. She came home at midnight, and this time the cologne smell was overwhelming. She had been pressed up against someone for hours, and it wasn't me. Her makeup was smudged, her hair was messed up, and she had that satisfied look of someone who had just spent the day being desired by another man. How was your day? I asked calmly. Good. Relaxing. Relaxing. You were out for 15 hours. Time flies when you're having fun. With who? Just friends. Which friends? The ones you were holding hands with in your Instagram post? For the first time all week, she looked genuinely caught. Her confident facade cracked for just a second before she recovered. It was just a playful picture, she said. Playful with who? Does it matter? Yes, it matters. My wife posted a picture of herself holding hands with another man. That matters quite a bit. You're being dramatic again. Am I? Because from where I'm standing, my wife has been lying to me all week, staying out until midnight, posting mysterious pictures with other men, and treating me like I'm crazy for asking basic questions. She sat down on the couch with a sigh, like this conversation was exhausting her. You're paranoid. I can't live my life with you analyzing every picture I post. I'm not analyzing every picture. I'm asking about the one where you're holding hands with someone who isn't your husband. It was innocent. Nothing about your behavior this week has been innocent. She looked at me with this smug expression like she knew something I didn't. Maybe you should just relax and stop trying to control everything. Control everything? I haven't tried to control anything. I've asked questions, which apparently makes me controlling in your mind. You want to know where I am every second, who I'm with, what I'm doing. That's controlling. I want basic communication with my wife. The same communication we've had for 3 years until this week when you decided to become a completely different person. She stood up and walked toward the bedroom, clearly done with the conversation. But I wasn't done, not even close. Are you having an affair? I asked directly. She stopped and turned around. No, I'm not having an affair. Then what is this? What's with all the secrecy and lies and late nights? I'm not lying about anything. You told me you were with your sister when she was out of town. You said you were running errands when you were at expensive restaurants with other men. You claim you're with girlfriends but post pictures holding hands with someone else. Everything you've told me this week has been a lie. She walked back toward me with this strange smile on her face, like she was enjoying this whole confrontation. You want to know what's really going on? She said. Yes, I want to know what's really going on. Maybe you should try guessing. Keep you on your toes. Guessing. She wanted me to guess what game she was playing. She was actually admitting that this was all some kind of test or experiment, and she expected me to figure it out like it was a puzzle she had created for her own entertainment. You want me to guess? I said, looking at her calmly. Sure, take a guess. She was so confident, so pleased with herself, like she had orchestrated this whole week perfectly, and was now ready to reveal her masterpiece. She had no idea that she was about to get a very different reaction than she expected. Hey, I said, let me guess. The smile on her face told me everything I needed to know. She thought she was winning some game. She thought I was going to play along with whatever twisted relationship advice she had been following. She thought I would be impressed by her strategy or grateful for the excitement she had brought to our marriage. She had no idea that her next few minutes were going to be very different from what she had planned. All right, I said, looking directly at her. I guess you've been playing stupid mind games thinking it would make me more interested. Her smile faltered slightly, but she tried to maintain her confident posture. I guess you read some article or watched some video about keeping men guessing and decided to implement every toxic strategy they recommended. Now her face was changing. The smugness was disappearing, replaced by surprise that I was connecting the dots so quickly. I guess you think acting unpredictable and shady makes you mysterious and attractive, instead of just dishonest and manipulative. She opened her mouth to say something, but I wasn't finished. I guess you've been testing me all week to see how much disrespect and lies I would tolerate before I finally snapped. How did you? She started, then caught herself. How did I figure it out? Because I'm not stupid. The sudden personality change, the calculated hot and cold behavior, the mysterious social media posts, the lies about where you've been. It's textbook manipulation tactics disguised as keeping things exciting. She sat down slowly, the confidence completely drained from her face. It wasn't supposed to be manipulation. What was it supposed to be? I read this article about how couples get into ruts and how women need to maintain mystery to keep their men interested. It said men get bored when everything becomes predictable. So you decided to lie to me for a week. I wasn't lying exactly. I was just not telling you everything. You told me you were with your sister when she was out of town. You said you were running errands when you were having dinner with other men. You posted pictures holding hands with someone else. What would you call that? She looked down at her hands. I was trying to make you appreciate what you have by acting like you were cheating on me. I wasn't cheating. Those pictures were with my friend Sarah. We thought it would be funny to make it look mysterious. Sarah, who you've never mentioned before this week. She's new at work. She's the one who showed me the article. So there it was. Some woman at her job had filled her head with toxic relationship advice, and my wife had decided to experiment on our marriage without telling me. She had spent a week making me question everything about our relationship because a coworker told her it would be exciting. "Want to know my final guess?" I said. She looked up at me with nervous eyes. "What?" "I guess this relationship is over." The words hit her like a physical blow. She stood up quickly, shaking her head. "What?" "No, it was just to keep things exciting. The article said men love mystery and that wives need to shake things up or their husbands will lose interest. Congratulations. It worked. I'm so excited to be single again." "You can't be serious." "I was trying to improve our marriage. You were trying to manipulate me. There's a difference." "But the article said men get bored with predictable women. It said I needed to create uncertainty to maintain attraction. I love uncertainty in movies, not in my marriage. I need honesty in my partner, not games." She started pacing, panic setting in. "I was trying to make you appreciate me more, to make you realize what you could lose." "Well, you succeeded." "I realized what I could lose. A wife who lies to me, disappears without explanation, plays psychological games because some stranger on the internet told her to. Other women do this all the time. It's normal relationship advice." "Perfect. Go find a man who likes that. I prefer women who don't need to manipulate me to feel desired." She sat back down, tears starting to form. "So you're really leaving because I tried to be more interesting?" "I'm leaving because you became less trustworthy. Interesting doesn't require dishonesty. I can stop. I can go back to normal. Normal doesn't include wondering if my wife is lying or playing games. That ship has sailed. Please." It was just 1 week, one stupid mistake. 1 week of lies, manipulation, and making me feel crazy for asking basic questions. 1 week of you treating our marriage like an experiment. She was crying now, the reality of the situation finally hitting her. "I thought you'd find it exciting." "I found it exhausting, and I'm done being exhausted by someone I'm supposed to trust." She sat there crying for several minutes while I watched. Part of me felt bad seeing her so broken, but a bigger part of me was angry that it had taken the threat of divorce for her to show genuine emotion instead of calculated manipulation. "I didn't realize how it would affect you," she said through tears. "I thought men liked the chase. I like the woman I married. I didn't need to chase her because I already had her." The article made it sound like marriages die when women become too available, too predictable. Our marriage was dying this week when my wife became a stranger who lied to me every day. She wiped her eyes and looked at me desperately. "What if I promise never to do anything like this again?" "Your promises don't mean much right now. You promised to love and honor me when we got married, but this week you chose to manipulate and deceive me instead. That's not fair. I was trying to save our marriage, not destroy it. By making me doubt everything about our relationship. By acting like being married to me was a prison you needed to escape from." She stood up and started pacing again, trying to find the right words. "I know it was wrong now. I can see how much I hurt you, but please don't throw away 3 years over 1 terrible week." "I'm not throwing anything away. You already threw it away when you decided to treat our marriage like a game. People make mistakes. You've made mistakes too. I've never deliberately lied to you for a week straight. I've never made you question your sanity or wonder if your spouse was cheating." She collapsed back onto the couch, sobbing harder now. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'll do anything to fix this." "There's nothing to fix. The trust is broken. Trust can be rebuilt. Not by someone who thinks manipulation is an acceptable way to improve a relationship." We sat in silence for a while. She cried quietly while I thought about 3 years of marriage that had been destroyed in 7 days. 3 years of building something real and honest, ruined because she wanted to play psychological games. "Can I ask you something?" she said finally. "What? Did you ever actually think I was cheating?" "Yes. The mysterious plans, staying out until midnight, posting pictures with other men, coming home smelling like cologne. What was I supposed to think? I never thought about how it would look from your perspective, because you were too busy following your script to consider how your husband might feel." She was quiet for a long moment. The article said, "Men don't appreciate what they have until they think they might lose it." Well, you were right about one thing. I didn't appreciate what I had. She looked up hopefully. "You mean?" I didn't appreciate how much peace and trust meant to me until you took them away." Her face fell again. "So that's it. You won't even try to work through this." I looked at this woman I had loved for 3 years. The woman who had shared my bed, my dreams, my life. The woman who had thrown it all away because someone convinced her that dishonesty was exciting. "You want to know the truth?" I said. "I love you, but I don't trust you, and I can't be married to someone I don't trust. But if you love me..." Love isn't enough when the foundation is broken. She sat there looking defeated, finally understanding that her week of games had cost her everything she was trying to protect. "Is there anything I can do?" she whispered. I thought about it for a long moment. One chance, one final chance, but with conditions. Her head snapped up. "Anything!" No more games ever. No more lies, no matter how small. No more mysterious behavior or testing my reactions. Complete honesty about everything. Yes, absolutely. And no more relationship advice from random articles or toxic friends. Done. One strike, and you're out. No second chances, no explanations, no working through it. Any sign that you're playing games again, and I'm gone permanently." She nodded frantically. "I understand. Do you? Because this week almost destroyed me. I felt like I was going crazy, questioning everything about our relationship. I know. I'm sorry. I'll never do anything like that again." She threw her arms around me, holding on like her life depended on it. Maybe it did. Maybe she finally understood that real relationships are built on trust, not games. She wanted to keep me guessing, I thought to myself as she cried against my shoulder. My guess, I deserve better than games. And now she knows it too. Our story has come to an end. If you've made it this far, how about subscribing to our channel? It helps us immensely. I've selected 2 other videos for you that I'm sure you'll enjoy. Feel free to click on them. I'll be waiting for you in the next story. See you soon.